Welcome back to another exciting episode of Character Talks. Today we're thrilled to be joined by the adventurous and inspiring Laura Prescott, founder of Wild Woman Coaching, where adventure is an attitude. Laura's mission is simple but bold, to help every woman embrace a life she truly loves and pursue the adventures that set her soul on fire. From the mountains to the dating scene, she believes every experience is an opportunity for growth, self-discovery, and a good story. Get ready to laugh as Laura shares her wild tales, like encountering mountain lions on the trail, forgetting her beard during a heated game of kickball, and who could forget the time she accidentally sent a bowling ball flying across multiple lanes. These fun, quirky, and downright crazy moments have shaped Laura into the vibrant coach she is today, and it's that same playful, fearless energy she brings to her work. Join us as we dive into how Laura's adventure mindset can help you turn every stumble, surprise, and challenge into a stepping stone toward your most exciting, fulfilling life. Let's unleash the wild woman within. In Character Talks, we aim to unearth the hidden gems of human resilience, courage, and growth. We bring you tales of ordinary people who found themselves in extraordinary circumstances and emerged from the crucible of life forever changed. From tales of facing fear head-on, to serendipitous encounters that altered destinies, and from travels to distant lands that broadened horizons. To battles fought within, we believe that every experience holds the potential to shape us in profound ways. I'm Chris Christie, and this is Character Talks.
Just after it's been cut, and wade through the stream or maybe run through the river, even though you may get just a little bit wet. A bum bum sheeto, a bum bum sheeto. Wow, 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 wow. This is life.
Laura, let's jump into Character Talks. First of all, welcome to Character Talks.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
I am excited to have you on, and I try to make a habit of not doing a lot of research on guests prior to coming onto the show, because I really like to shape the questions like I'm a first-time listener, as most people that'll be listening to the podcast are. But you and I have already had a wonderful conversation beforehand, and there are just so many things that we're doing with coaching and what we do for fun that just align, that I feel like I was cheating a little bit coming into this, but this is going to be a lot of fun.
I'm sure it'll be great.
One thing I like to start out with is the first question is, what is character? How do you define character?
So it's funny you asked that. I do feel like we cheated a little bit because I have also been rolling this question around in my mind for the last week or so. And it's kind of funny. I immediately, the word itself kind of not turned me off a little bit, but I think sometimes the word character reminds me of like morality or ethics, and those things are so subjective that I find it a little bit tricky to like, am I judging someone else's character? Is someone else judging my character? And what lens are they judging that through? But then I don't know, I thought about it more, and the place I landed was thinking about homes. Like, I love a home with character, right? I feel like I say that all the time. My husband's a realtor, so we see a lot of houses just, I don't know, in life. But it got me thinking about, like, in a house, why does it feel, it's not like a moral or ethical, like, what is the character of this home? But in my mind, it brings to mind this like unique quality. I think homes are typically organized, like they all have the same features, right? They have bedrooms, they have basements, they have kitchens, they have attics or whatever. They're all a collection of the same things, but just maybe organized differently. And so I think that's what I think of when I think of character, is like, as humans, we are all very similar, right? We have the same, for the most part, features. We have like a head and arms and a brain and emotions and all of that, but we're organized in a way, each of us, that is unique to us. We may share similar features with another person, but we won't share all of those features with another person. We'll have a lot of similarities with someone, and then we'll have a lot of differences with someone else. And so I think that's what I think of when I think of character is just like your unique collection of features that makes you you, which helps me just keep away from that like judgment of like ethics or morality or the choices that you make that I may judge differently from the reason that you made them. Does that make sense?
No, that makes great sense. And wow, what a fantastic way first thing in the morning. That's a to get my brain jump started. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is fantastic because I hadn't thought about character the way you started the conversation, but I love that because I guess in my own mind, and I think this is where our coaching comes in is I don't really live my life based on what I think how other people want to judge me because that's ultimately going on within them than more than within me. So I can appreciate that. And then when you brought the house thing in,
Yeah, it worked for me because I think I'm a big definition person. So I think I did kind of cheat a little bit and look up the definition of character first. And there was something, I wish I had written it down now, but there's something about like morality and ethics and, are like people judge you by your character, you judge yourself by your character. And essentially it came across to me as like, are you doing the right or wrong thing? Which I just, in general, right and wrong, have a hard time with because it is so subjective, right?
right,
Um, and so then I thought about like other uses of the word. And I'm like, oh, we always talk about like the character of a house, but we don't talk about it in the way that is like, is its character upstanding? Is its character moral and ethical? And is it doing the right thing? We talked about home character as like, is it unique to that home? Is there a feature or a way that it's set up that's like different from every other home, even though it's still a home?
yeah, no, that makes great sense. I mean, we set our homes up so we are happy and we are in a place that we enjoy. And that's essentially, I hope, how people live their lives with their characters, that they become the person that they want to be, whether it's through coaching, whether it's through reading on their own or just their own work. Ultimately, yeah, what a fantastic way. So, folks that are listening, I told you in the introduction that this was going to be an awesome podcast. So now you're getting it. So, if you could give us a little bit of a Cliff Notes version, I guess, if you will, of a little bit about who you are, maybe some of the things your word is going to be on the cover. So people, of course, know your word, but I always wait for this big unveil later of what your word is. But maybe some of the adventures or experiences you've had that have kind of helped shape that word, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, that sounds great. So, first, I'll just kind of introduce myself. I'm Laura Prescott. It's so funny. I have a hard time sometimes introducing myself because, again, this like character thing, I think this describing myself sometimes as helpful as it is, I really like don't like to pigeonhole myself. I think I did that to myself and had that done to me, as I think we all do as kids, young adults, that sort of thing. So I always struggle a little bit with like, how do I introduce myself? But I will say that I currently hold a position as a life coach, and my journey to get me there has been, definitely a long and winding adventure. I think as a little kid, I grew up in rural New Hampshire and spent just a ton of time outside. I was the youngest of four kids and by quite a bit. So on the weekends, I kind of joke like I was an only child on the weekends. And then during the week, my mom ran a daycare and I was at school and all that. But even as a kid, I really remember like going out into my backyard. We lived on this big property that backed up to woods. And I just loved going outside and feeling like I was getting a little bit lost. I would wander around the woods. And even though like I knew exactly where I was, there was this feeling of like, can I really find my way home? I would take my dog out and just go on all these like little made up adventures. I don't know if I just watched too much Little House on the Prairie or I don't know. It was like the start. It was, the 90s. So like we're starting to play video games, all of that. And I just would imagine myself as like this character living off the land in my backyard. And
And do you remember back then, was it a sense of getting lost? or now you're looking back, it was lost. It was then more of just an imagination of, I want to go see what else is out there. And then all of a sudden going, oh, damn, I am lost.
I loved getting lost.
Oh, awesome.
I
Okay.
loved it. I loved feeling, and it wasn't like scary lost. It was just a little bit of like, I can't see my house, or we'd go camping and I'd, find the paths and that sort of thing that would take me far enough away from the campground. Like I knew that I could get back, but I'd be like, oh, where does this trail go? Or where does this path go? Or if I walk around this, where does this go? And I just sort of loved that feeling of like, I can't really see where I'm getting back to, and let's see if I can get back there in not a dangerous place at all.
Yeah, I love
Um,
that.
and so I sort of wonder sometimes if like those experiences shaped so my oldest brother moved to Colorado when I was, I don't know, pretty young. He's quite a bit older than me. And I came to visit him in Colorado, in Grand Junction when I was, I think, 13. And it was my first time on an airplane, first time out of New England. I spent 2 weeks with him. I remember stepping off the airplane and just being like, what is this place? This is incredible. Spent 2 weeks in Colorado. He took me all around all the places. I cried the whole way home. And my entire high school career, like people definitely knew me as the girl who wanted to move to Colorado when high school was over. Like that's it. That's all I talked about. And looking back, I can kind of see the correlation between the two of like this idea of just going far enough away that I can't see home, feeling a little bit lost, but like I know how to get back if I need to. But just having these like whole new experiences. So I think that like adventurous spirit was instilled in me at an early age. So I lived in Colorado for a couple of years, met my now husband. We moved to LA for a couple of years. Similar deal. Like, I'm going to check this out. This feels very unfamiliar, but I know how to get back if I need to, which we eventually did. And then I moved back to Colorado, I think like 10 years ago now, and have just spent the last 10 years exploring the state, exploring my own self in nature, in like on trails, all of that sort of thing. It was actually when we lived in LA that I got really into hiking. I felt like I grew up hiking in New Hampshire, but like by force, not by interest, just other people took me. And it was all right, but I was not like, oh, I'm a hiker now. And when we lived in LA, I remember feeling just like overcrowded and a little bit
Mhm.
into LA. So I would take my dog on my days off and go hike in Malibu or Calabasas or wherever I could find. It's funny, it's kind of a similar thing where like I knew where I was, but it was all new. And I knew where I was in the state and in the city, but all the trails were really new. And I just loved that feeling of exploring, I don't know, new territory. And like, how far does this trail even go? I don't even know. And so then when we moved back to Colorado, I knew that I wanted to keep hiking, but Colorado is, at least to me at the time, was like intimidating. Growing up in New Hampshire, we don't have 14,000-foot peaks. We don't have, I don't know, like the thunderstorm thing here is like much more intense, being above tree line, lightning, all of that. And so I felt pretty intimidated hiking
You
here.
don't have buffaloes in New Hampshire.
No buffalo. Guess we have like mountain lion type, like bobcat. I don't think we have actual mountain lions, right?
We do yeah, but they tend to be certainly nocturnal and
Yeah.
they're more afraid of us most of the
Yeah.
time. Whereas a buffalo, you're not going to scare a buffalo away.
Yeah. No. And I don't remember growing up in New Hampshire, anyone talking about mountain lions or like bobcats, that sort of thing, the way they do here. Here, it's like,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like now when I hike, oftentimes and it started from mountain biking in Vermont, that people, when they mountain bike in Vermont, oftentimes people will put little bells on their
mhm.
bikes because as you round a turn, and I have rounded a turn in Vermont a number of times, only to see a bear sitting in the middle of the trail. Just that bell oftentimes is enough notice for them to say, "Oh, I'm out of here." And as is the case with most animals, when they hear something like that, they're gone.
Totally. Yeah. So I think I was just really intimidated. The animals are different, the weather is different, the peaks are different, the terrain is different. And I just wasn't really familiar with any of it. But I also had this, like, I really think that hiking is something that I want to do, and it feels amazing, and it feels so good to get away from the city. And so I eased into that a little bit. I actually had a really funny experience. I think it was my first like big hike after moving back. I went, it was the first day of summer, and I was going to celebrate the summer solstice, take myself on this hike up, I don't know, just outside of Denver, like definitely into the mountains, though. I think it gets up to this particular trail gets up to like 12,000 feet. And it's so funny looking back. Like now I know that even in late June at 12,000 feet, there's usually tons of snow still. But I did not know this at the time, so I was not prepared for that at all. And I parked at the trailhead. I had my black lab monster with me. And I remember just feeling so nervous, like about everything, right? Like, what if I lose the trail? What if, I don't know, some random storm rolls in and I get struck by lightning? All of those, like, just unknown things. And there were a couple cars at the parking lot, and I'm hiking along. And I had finally started to like calm down a little bit. I'm like, okay, I'm here, things are good. And I look up and I see this animal, this like blonde animal walking toward me. And I like under my breath, like swore and like froze. And I look again and it's a golden retriever. I was sure it was a mountain lion, right? Like, here we go. This is how I die. And I look up again and it's this like sweet little, tail wagging golden retriever. And thankfully the owner was a little ways behind and did not see my like total freeze. I'm like, oh, this is how I die. But after that, like, we exchanged pleasantries and let our dogs play and that sort of thing. And I kept hiking. And after that, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to be okay. That wasn't a mountain lion. We're good. And I just got to the top of this trail, and you like look back and you see a couple 14ers and they're all snow covered. And I just started crying. I was this is where I'm meant to be 100%. And I feel like that was such a pivotal moment for me of going from like interested in hiking to feeling like it was a part of my identity, a part of my expression of who I am. Experience just kind of kicked off the last 10 years of my life, which have been this winding road of like trying to figure out how to balance who I am on a trail, which is like confident and courageous and brave and willing to try new things and willing to be like really afraid and keep going. But then also having this other experience in my off trail life of being pretty shy, pretty introverted, dealing with some pretty strong social anxiety in my 20s. I don't know, it was wild to me how I could have these kind of two very different stories for myself. And I would say like the last 8 to 10 years of my life have been trying to figure out how those stories got so far away from each other and how to bring them closer together, which is the basis of my coaching work now.
Yeah, I love that the idea of hiking in Colorado, when you mentioned earlier, the idea of getting lost, that's a whole nother level of getting lost in your backyard is one thing. Getting lost on a 14er is a completely different level.
Yeah, such a different level. But it's funny how I still love that feeling of like a little lost, right? Like I know where the parking lot is, I know where I am in the world, but there's something about like I can't really see where I'm headed or where I came from that just feels exciting to me. But yeah, I don't want to be like for real lost.
Yeah, and for those people that are maybe haven't done a lot of hiking, or for those that have done a lot of hiking, a lot of it comes down to, as in many things, preparation.
Oh yeah.
When I hike, if I get lost by some chance, I'm okay. I'm not okay for a week, but I'm certainly okay until I get myself out. So it's so funny how that relates to so many things, whether it's hiking or preparing for a board meeting or relationship. A lot of it's done in the prep.
Yeah, a lot of it's done in the prep, and you learn every time. I mean, I've had experiences where I've made some real mistakes that could have cost me. And I was lucky enough that they didn't. But I still, years later, I feel like almost every time I go out, at least for a big hike, I learn something that I come back and I'm like, oh, I'll do that differently next time.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's great. So let's I want to dive in to kind of what you're doing now because I think it's so important and there's so many depths to your coaching. But to get started, let's move into your word and the word that I ask people to choose. Either it's a word that defines them, word that defines their character, or is just an important word for them. And a couple of people have chosen, they have their word of the year, which I think is fantastic. It's not something I have considered doing, but I'm going to, I think. So what is your word?
Yeah, so I definitely do a word of the year versus I think I mentioned earlier, I struggle a little bit with like pigeonholing myself. I can be one of those people that like goes from identity as an explanation to identity as an excuse. So I try to be very careful around how I describe myself as to not put myself in a box. That said, I've always been a big fan of New Year's resolutions. I actually love them. I know people have a lot of feelings about them. I've always used them in a way that has felt great for me, not in a way that is like, you have to lose 5 pounds or whatever the thing is. I've always made them pretty fun. And over the last couple of years, I have, instead of doing, sometimes I still do an actual resolution, but I've started doing a word of the year. And to me, it feels like a little bit of a touchstone, like a reminder, something to live my life by on a daily basis. And it's funny, usually for me, my word is it's a place that I want to go, but what it requires me to overcome along the way is quite the opposite. So this year for 2024, my word of the year is playful, which in my mind, I have it like written down next to me. I have experiment, explore, and enjoy are ways for me to be more playful. And it's kind of funny though, because when I think about that word, it sounds so light and airy and wonderful,
Yeah.
fun. But the reason I chose it is to overcome a lot of fear of judgment, fear of criticism, embarrassment, those sorts of more uncomfortable things. So playful to me is like on the other side of those experiences.
Interesting. And I was going to ask if you have something physical or something that you look at to remind you of what your word is. And of course,
I
I saw you
yeah,
look over to the something that you have written.
yeah. I will forget. I will forget what I'm doing at any moment if I don't have it written down. I have sticky notes all over the place. I have to keep things written down. Otherwise, I'm like, oh yeah, I did pick a word of the year, didn't I? What was that? I don't remember.
That's awesome. Well, and that's the reason why, two tattoos I have are on the inside of each of my wrists. So as I'm working, they are constant reminders because I think you have to have that. You have to have reminders all the time.
Definitely.
So playful in every sense of the word, or is that word playful perhaps helping you bridge the gap from what you feel like when you're out hiking and to the more introverted person when you're not out hiking? Is there some
Yeah.
intention to that?
Yeah, I love that you said that. It really is. I think about it as a bridge, right? Playful is on the other side of the bridge to where I am now. And so if I continue to work toward playful, it means I have to cross the bridge of embarrassment. I cross the bridge of fear of judgment, fear of criticism. And yeah, I think a lot of times when I'm out on a trail, I can feel pretty playful. I can feel free. I can feel like open to new experiences, able to laugh, able to be silly, obviously in a safe way. But I was hiking with a girlfriend not too long ago, it's winter, and we were joking around, and I just picked up a snowball and threw it at her, and we ended up having a snowball fight on the trail. It's really like that sense of playfulness that I'd like to see myself have in other areas of my life. I think I had a lot of anxiety in social situations and honestly just a lot of anxiety growing up that I didn't really know what it was. I didn't know what I was feeling. I just knew that I felt uncomfortable in a lot of different spaces, but outside wasn't one of them. And I noticed myself holding back on a lot of experiences that I was curious about. It still makes me laugh because I'm not totally over it, which is why it's my word of the year. But I can go hike like a trail that requires a helmet, right? Like not even necessarily like not a walk up, but like some scrambling. There's some risk involved. I can go do that and feel pretty, I wouldn't say like comfortable at ease, but comfortable like I feel like I know what I'm doing and I'm okay with how this goes. But put me in a backyard game of cornhole or kickball or like I don't know, anything where there might be a sliver of competition. And I will sit on the sidelines and watch everybody and have this like feeling that I think I pushed down for a really long time. Like, I'd like to join. Right. And I would sit there and be like, oh, no, I don't do sports. I don't like this. Yuck, yuck, yuck. But deep down, I'd be like, man, I wish I could do that. Like, I really wish that I could just get out there and literally play. But I had all this fear and continue to deal with some of that fear of judgment, embarrassment, criticism. I was playing, this was years ago. I was on a kickball. I always get kickball and dodgeball confused, but kickball league. And it was one of those where you have to have a beer in hand at all times. So, like, not serious at all. Right? Like, clearly not that competitive. And I joined it. It was after we moved back to Denver and I wanted to meet new people. And it was my turn to kick and I didn't have a beer. So I went to go re-up my beer and I heard somebody on the field, like on my team, say like, Laura, the ball isn't going to kick itself. And I started crying.
Oh,
Like I was so embarrassed and so just like uncomfortable. And I felt like everybody was looking at me and now I've made a mistake. I was mortified and I never went back.
wow.
I like finished that game and I left in tears and I never went back. And that's the side to me that I'm just like, I'm kind of done with that. So this idea of being playful on a daily, like it truly is a daily basis for me, is my way of confronting every day that fear of judgment, that fear of embarrassment, and putting myself in situations like that to face that instead of, and like now, so what if I cry? I might still cry for sure, but I'm going to stay there.
So where when we're recording this, we're only 2.5 months into 2024, but has there been an experience that you remember so far? Oh, and you're laughing as I'm asking, an experience so far where you made the decision to be more playful?
Oh, so many. I've done it every single day. But I would say some of the bigger ones, I joined a bowling league, which like it's tough. I'm not a good bowler. And let me tell you, I think it was like the second night. So first of all, I don't know anybody on the team. I know one other person, like I met her a couple of times, but everybody else are complete strangers to me. And this bowling league, like the whole bowling alley is packed, and people come in with their little suitcases, with their bowling balls and their own shoes. Like there's a variety of skill levels here, but some of these people are serious. And I think it was the second night I went to bowl and I picked up my bowling ball, and it's hot in there. Your hands get a little sweaty. I picked it up and I just kind of did this like almost like I don't know, like popped it up to hold it. And the thing just like flew out of my hand and went rolling across, like sideways across the alley in front of, at least probably five more lanes. Like it went cruising and I had to go chase it. And there's varying, seriousness levels of bowlers here. That's not a word, but they are looking at me like, girl, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, excuse me, just gonna go fetch my ball, excuse me. And it felt exactly like that moment where the guy called me out and I felt my face turn hot and I mean, I'm sweating, like the whole thing. And I think I probably said to myself out loud, because it's so loud in there, nobody could hear me anyway, like, you're fine. It's fine. This is funny. You're going to look back and think this is funny. Just go get your ball. And I like totally talked myself through it. And I came back and somebody did say something to me, something like, hang on to your ball there. I was like, yeah, noted. But I just didn't take myself quite so seriously. And that's not to say I didn't have all the same feelings. I definitely felt embarrassed. I definitely felt just like, ugh, so icky. But I just didn't take all that quite as seriously. I was like, yeah, that's normal. Let's move on.
And we've all been there. We've all been in that situation. We've all done that. Kept thinking in my head of an old football play that someone made a comment on. Like, well, there's Laura bowling east-west on a north-south bowling lane.
Exactly. Yep. Wrong way, sis.
Yeah, that's such an important note that I think anyone listening, it's okay to laugh. And sometimes that laughing is at ourselves, sometimes it's at a funny joke, but it's just okay, because the reality is it's just not that. You just need to be a little more, I love that, more playful.
Yeah. I don't know where I originally heard this, but I've totally adopted it as my own now, is that self-confidence is the willingness to feel any emotion. And so those are the moments for me where I'm like, oh, this is me building self-confidence. I'm willing to feel embarrassed. I'm willing to feel judged. I'm willing to feel silly. Like, this is great news. This is where I build self-confidence. And so that makes it almost worth it to bowl east-west.
So let's move into your coaching, because in our first conversation a couple weeks ago, you mentioned something about your coaching and one thing that you strive to do. And I will tell you, I have shared it probably 6 or 8 times in conversations I've had with other coaches, our conversation, because I just loved what it stood for and what it did. And I'm not going to share what that is at this right now, but can you share a little bit about what you're doing now and kind of what your coaching is all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So after this experience hiking in Colorado for like 10 years, COVID happened and I decided to kind of a series of events happened. I decided to get my coaching certification and simultaneously decided to take a month off in the summer of 2021 and through hike the Colorado Trail. And that was just like a very big adventure for me. And I think for anybody probably. And I was probably 4 days into that adventure and feeling stressed, feeling nervous, feeling just like all the things, and had that kind of real moment with myself where I was like, whoa, why is it that I can be out here and feel all of these feelings and be okay with it? But at this time, I hadn't had the bowling experience yet. I had just had the kickball experience so far. And like, why is it that I can basically have my own back here and not in my off-trail life? And so I spent the rest of my time on the Colorado Trail, enjoying the views, of course, and doing the incredible hiking, but in the back of my mind, rolling around this idea that the trail is life. Every experience that I have on the trail reflects some experience I've had in my off-trail life. And if I can have the same attitude I have on the trail toward those experiences in my off-trail life, maybe my off-trail life will be as fun and as exciting as the Colorado Trail. Maybe not as beautiful, but as fun. And so I got back and I started my coaching business, Wild Woman Coaching, with the concept that all of those feelings, all of those thoughts that you experience when you're out on whatever it is that you consider an adventure for yourself. For me, it's hiking the Colorado Trail. Sometimes it's traveling. For other people, maybe it's, skydiving or surfing or whatever it is that makes you feel like you're on an adventure and less tied to just the outcome, right? You're there for the experience. So my coaching is built around the idea that any goal then can be an adventure. It can be more for the experience than for the outcome. And so, yeah, I developed my program around that. And now I teach women how to set goals for themselves, whether it is to hike solo or, start a new career path. Set any of those goals in a way that feels more like an adventure than just like an outcome, a daunting task. And through those experiences, build, the confidence, the courage, and the curiosity to actually move toward those instead of just holding yourself back or leaving in tears, as I once did.
That is so important. And I hope people take, hit pause on this if you need to, because I know I have a number of times I've sat back in my chair while working and thought, what would it feel like in this situation, in a business setting or doing work, to have that feeling of calm, for me anyway, as I hike a lot I'm fortunate enough to live on the coast of Maine, so I hike Ragged Mountain, and it's the only ski area in the country where you can be at the top of the ski area and overlook the Atlantic Ocean. And I have a particular rock that I go up to, and I meditate quite often in the summertime. And so I was thinking back, going, again, thinking of your coaching and that approach, how great would it be to have that sense of calm and that sense of confidence and being happy and being able to bring that into times when I'm not necessarily feeling that, whether it's in my computer. So I'm so glad you hit on it. And I hope people just take a minute, like just close your eyes and imagine what that would feel like. How great would life be to be able to go through and yeah, I have found I've been doing it a number of times since our conversation of just, wow, that would be cool. And it has changed me. It has affected me for sure. I just love the approach. And so how, with your coaching, are you doing that in a group setting? Are you doing it one-on-one? How are you doing that? Because I think it's such an important part. And I think when people get done this, I will have all of your contact information and links. I hope people will take the time to reach out. But how are you doing coaching? Have you found a certain way that it works best?
Yeah, so I do a little bit of a combination of both. I do one-on-one coaching virtually. It's a 12-week program. And that program is really set up to take someone through the process of setting and achieving a goal and treating it like an adventure, right? So we start with, I think my first module is called You Are Here, right? And it addresses the beliefs that you have about yourself, the beliefs you have about a goal, the beliefs about what it'll take to get there. And we really unpack what is it that you're starting with? Who do you believe that you are right now in relationship to this goal? And then we go through the process of identifying.
And Laura, let me ask, did you set that up like a trail map? Because every trail map, if you go to a trailhead, it starts with "You are here."
Totally. I mean, that's how I was thinking about it, right? Is how would my whole philosophy is the way I approach the Colorado Trail, that experience, 30 days on a trail, is how I want to approach every single goal I set for myself. And it's how I want to teach other people to set goals too. I mean, I'll say I did it for my business as well. This is literally the only way I've been able to start a business, is by seeing it as an adventure. Because if I see it as a way to make money, as oh, I need to take, create TikTok videos and start dancing and putting myself out there and record videos of me putting on my makeup and talking to people on the internet, I will not do that. That will shut me down, because it doesn't feel like an adventure. It feels like pressure. Right. But even for me, when I approach building my business as what is there for me to learn? Who is there for me to meet? How is there for me to grow and learn more about myself, learn more about other people? Then I focus more on the process than the outcome. And that keeps me going. So I've been my first client all along, right? So I took myself through this, you are here. I wish I had all the modules written down actually, but there's one that's embrace the suck, which is, a term that I think a lot of us use in the outdoor world around there are going to be moments of this that suck, that really are not going to be fun. They're going to be challenging. Maybe it's those days on the trail when it rains all day and you're just wet. That's just what it is. You're cold and wet. or you're going uphill for what seems like forever. And you got to just like, nothing's gone wrong. You have to just embrace it and be okay with it. And I treat that kind of across the board. Like that is what it means to feel our feelings in it, in any context, is embracing the suck, those negative emotions that come up for us as we approach any goal. So I have each module kind of set up the way that one would set up a hiking adventure for any goal. So that's how I work with my one-on-one clients. And, we identify the like limiting beliefs, the basically the thoughts, the narratives, the identities that have held them back, and shift the perspective on those things and have them, moving forward with more of that confidence and courage. And then again, my learning from the Colorado Trail is that none of this stuff is as fun to do alone, right? Like I was hiking the Colorado Trail solo, but I always joke, like I was never alone. I never had one single day on the trail where I didn't see someone, talk to someone. And I will be abstract here and say sometimes that was like I had conversations with cows. I had a couple moments with some cows on the trail where I was like, hey, buddy, I'm going to go around you because you're huge. But like I had interactions. I had interactions with humans every day. But I also had interactions with other situations. I talked to the storm clouds, I talked to the cows, I talked to whoever was out there. But I do kind of feel like this work isn't meant to be done completely alone. I think it's really valuable to have a community of other people cheering you on who can relate to those moments that feel really hard, to celebrate with you, all of those things. So on top of the one-on-one coaching, I also offer a community here in Colorado. Right now, it's pretty much just local. I'm trying to figure out different ways of branching beyond local. But one of the things we do together is hike. We have small group hikes in the foothills. It's, I would say it's like for women, by women, and an opportunity to get out there and connect with other people, explore trails, but also kind of come face to face with that adventure mindset and practice taking those specific thoughts from the trail to our off-trail lives.
I love that. I think that was part of the intrigue because that is the mill.
Yeah, yeah.
The idea of the mill is for people to go on adventures, whatever that looks like for them, because the more we adventure, the more we understand who we are. And I think the more we understand who we are, then that just brings us into a place where good things happen. And so I think that was the part that struck me so much about you and your coaching and the story is just the importance of turning it into an adventure. I love that analogy of the coaching and self and personal growth as an adventure.
Yeah, because if you're just out there like for the outcome, I think I had this realization kind of when I started doing this work, right? Like I love how we always call it work, but I started embarking on this adventure of self-discovery, I will say. And one of the early realizations I had is that you never get there, right? Like I'd have these aha moments with myself and be like, oh, I see what's happening here. I need to do this thing differently. And then a year later, I'd understand it on a whole next level and be like, oh, I thought I got it. Now I get it. And then a year later, it'd be like, well, I thought I got it then too. And now I get it more. And I started realizing, like, when it comes to anything, the goal is not to arrive anywhere. And I think about this when I hike peaks out here. Like, you get to the top of a peak and all you see are more peaks. You just see more opportunities for more hikes. You don't get there and you're like, well, I'm done.
Right. I've done it all.
More.
No, that's great. I like to follow Gary Vaynerchuk as well. And he commented that there's a reason why he has multiple businesses, because it isn't the success, it isn't the money. He really appreciates the journey of starting something from scratch and moving all the way through. And when he finally builds a business, then he wants to go start another one because he appreciates the journey, the adventure of it.
And I think that's the part that we talk about it like it's the extra, like it's the icing on the cake, it's the cherry on top, whatever. Like the journey is just this like extra, but it's not. It's the whole point. It's the cake.
That is fantastic. And I think that is a perfect thought to leave on. I will encourage folks, though, to again, please take a couple minutes and just imagine how you feel when you are doing your adventure, whatever that is, whether it's dancing or hiking, gardening, and how that feels. And imagine what that would feel like in the times when you're not feeling that. And then,
Yeah, I would even take it a step further and say when you feel that sense of calm, that sense of confidence, that sense of curiosity, whatever it is that has you feeling really good, ask yourself what you're thinking right now that's making you feel that way. Because I think a lot of us think like, oh, it's the space, right? It's the nature, it's the top of the mountain, it's the place that I'm in that's making me feel this. And it's really not. It's what you're thinking. You're thinking, I'm amazing. You're thinking, I did it. You're thinking, this is all I need right now. It's those little sentences that you're thinking in that moment that are making you feel the way you want to be feeling. And those sentences are available to you at any time.
and you have hit it, but we'll recap with it, is how do you define adventure?
Oh man, I love defining adventure in like broad strokes, right? I think that a lot of us define adventure like it's this specific place, hiking, skydiving, traveling, whatever. I personally define it as a mindset. I think that adventure is a mindset of curiosity, of courage, and confidence that has you treating any situation like an opportunity to learn something, to try something new, maybe to be a little bit challenged. Maybe there's a little bit of a risk involved. But to me, adventure is a mindset.
Man, you've blown my mind twice. I got to think about character as my house, and adventure is a mindset. I love that. I love that.
Because
Yeah.
like anything, you can make going to your mailbox an adventure, right? Like it's not about what you do, it's about how you do it. It's about the mindset, the attitude that you carry with you that makes something an adventure.
So the doing is perhaps the vehicle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can do whatever you want, but you are the one who makes it an adventure with your mind. Like the place doesn't make it an adventure.
Yeah, I love that. And again, that just ties into the mill, because we always say an adventure is whatever the adventure is for you. Whether, again, for some people, it is scaling El Cap without a rope. For others, it might be walking to your mailbox or gardening or something of that nature.
Any of those situations, but it's because of the way you're looking at it and like the thoughts you're thinking, the lens you're looking through.
Fantastic. Laura, thank you so much. Again, I will encourage folks, if you have any questions about Laura and her coaching, Wild Woman Coaching, all the links are there, and please check out what she's doing. Get involved in the program. I promise you, you'll not be disappointed. And yeah, there's so many good things that you just dropped on us, Laura. I thank you. I appreciate your time today, and yeah, I look forward to chatting again.
I appreciate your time as well. This is my favorite thing to talk about, so thank you for indulging me.
What an incredible episode of Character Talks with the inspiring Laura Prescott from Wild Woman Coaching. Laura's stories from the Colorado Trail and beyond showed us how true adventures, both on the trail and in life, shape us into who we're meant to be. Her message that adventure is an attitude reminds us all to embrace life with curiosity, enthusiasm, and a commitment to growth. And in the spirit of adventure, Laura has generously offered an exclusive discount on her 12-week wildlife coaching program just for the Mill community. Don't miss out. Download the Mill to grab the code and begin your own journey toward a life filled with excitement and fulfillment and adventure. Thank you so much to Laura for sharing her wisdom, and to all of you for tuning in. We hope you feel inspired to add more adventure to your life. And your first step can be by downloading the Mill, a social media platform designed to spark the kind of adventure and connections we all crave. Until next time, keep adventuring.